Hey everyone, hope you guys are doing well. Today we have something pretty cool. This is a 10.2 inch Android display, and we are going to be installing it in my Lexus IS250. Right here, we just have the basic head unit. There's really not much, just a radio. We're going to be taking this and replacing it with this. I'm going to be just compiling all the information that I've learned over the internet and putting it into this video for you. As you may have noticed, the audio is kind of messed up. Unfortunately, the audio got screwed up while I was filming this, and as you know, I'm just filming this all together and then compiling it so it makes sense to you. So I apologize for that in advance. All right, let's get into some of the stuff you will be needing for this project. We have some zip ties. These are just like 4-inch zip ties. They're about $5 on Amazon. I would really highly recommend them. You only need about 5 zip ties, but they will make your life 10 times easier. We also have just a flathead screwdriver. I'm not sure if you can kind of see. It's not super thin. It's not super wide. This is a pretty easy. Most people have a screwdriver, but for the most part, what I would recommend is just getting something like that. You can also get a pry tool, but that pry tool won't work for everything. So you'll see in the video I start to use a pry tool. I end up switching over to the screwdriver as I'm kind of figuring out what I need to use. And finally, what you'll need is a 10mm socket. Let's see if I can get that to focus, as well as just a wrench and extension set. So this extension, it's pretty short. It's not super long, but if you can get something that's 6 or 8 inches long, that'd be even better. But the idea is that there are 4 screws that install into this head unit, and they kind of reach back a little bit, and you're gonna wanna use that extension. You can't really access the head unit without it. There are a few other things that we will be installing. The first one is a center air vent, just goes above the head unit. The second thing that we'll be installing is it's a USB adapter. You'll kind of see later on in the video what I'm talking about, but it basically allows us to plug our phone in directly to this head unit. And then this final thing that we have is a USB-C and USB 3.0 quick charge adapter. And you also see that kind of in the later part of the video. Those are all things that I wanted to do myself, so you'll see that later on. And so if you're a little confused, I'll have those listed in the description, and I'll also have a little bit of information on how I installed them. But for the most part, not everyone's going to want to use that. So just leave it in the comments, or let me know if you would like me to go into more detail as how I made my complete build for my car. Jumping right into it, we first have this shifter knob. We're going to be twisting it counterclockwise to remove, and that along with these 2 silver, trim pieces along the edge. We have a trim piece. I didn't show this in the previous part, but it works same as a flathead screwdriver, and we're just going to lift up the edge only about an inch and a half along this edge here. You don't want to go too deep. And then we're going to take just what using our hands and a little bit of soft pressure, just gently pull it up and out. You'll see just this side right here. We're going to repeat this on the other side as well. All right, this is the most difficult part of the build, for me at least. We have right here, you see these little clips. You can kind of just barely see with the flashlight on. We're going to want to pull them directly down, and they will lock downward. And once all 4 of them are unclipped, we're going to gently pull the entire piece out like we have right here. You notice the 2 white clips on either end on the dashboard there. Those will be clipping onto the edges, so you want to be careful when pulling the head unit out. You could break that, just kind of gently pull it out and then unclip those clips. You can see we have 2 of the top upper portions of the bolts, and right here we're going to show just kind of the crevices for the last 2 bolts. Those are the 4 bolts I was talking about. These will help you remove the entire head unit. You're going to want to unscrew all 4 of those. And then once you have them unscrewed, we are going to gently pull it directly outward. Once you have pulled it out, you'll notice, I think, about 5 or 6 different electrical plugs that will need to be unplugged before you can completely remove it. I didn't worry about labeling them, but if that is something you do, you may go ahead and do that now before you lose track of them all. I went ahead and took the liberty of removing the old head unit, and then I attached the new head unit to the old CD player and radio box. We have a little bit of a gap. That's just because of the fitment change. You'll see I had to make some modifications just to get it to fit the way it did on my head unit. That's just because the 2006 model and the 2009 model are two different, and they tried to make one universal head unit for both. Also, I want to point out right here, you'll see two empty screw holes. You can see the motherboard behind them right here, so I'd be very cautious. I wouldn't use those screw holes on either side. There are two on here and two on the other side. And then one more thing, you'll notice there was a tire pressure monitoring system right here, and I relocated that just a bit lower, right down in between the new head unit and the old radio set, just so that we still have that system here. All right, so for this next part, we just kind of figured out where wires go where. They're pretty intuitive, honestly. They're not super difficult to manage. Each clip has a different size, and it's kind of easy. Just put the male and the female and clip, 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 you know. Here are the ports that will actually connect into the car. There's one right here. There's one you'll see right that actually plugs into their old radio box, and then you have one here. Yeah, for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. Here's the CAN bus, and right here we have a plug that goes to your OBD port. I ended up not using this. I like to use my OBD port for other things, and I decided not to plug it in. Underneath this Wi-Fi antenna, you'll notice a radio input. There's also a radio input down here. You're going to want to use the bottom radio input. The top one does not work. We're finished with wiring, but it looks like a huge mess, so what we're going to do is take some zip ties and just clean up what we need. All right, with those zip ties put in place, we only needed just a couple. We have like one here, 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 and like right down here. So maybe about 4 zip ties. We wanted to not restrict movement of the wires too much, but we do need to add zip ties because you're adding a lot of wires back there, and it's not going to fit into the car unless the cables have been managed properly. There are 7 ports that will plug into this whole unit. There's 1, 2, 3. We have 4. This is the tire pressure monitoring system. Then we have 5 and 6. Then we have number 7 right underneath my hand here. We also have the USB ports right here. They go into the head unit. Also, I wanted to point out that we have a red and white cable. These are your audio cables. They plug in right here. They came with the head unit. This will make sure the audio quality is the same, at least to the best of its ability. There's more. I'm going to get into that at the end of the video. Here we have our GPS system. I didn't actually attach it with anything more than tape, but you're feel free to actually glue it on there if you so wish. In a later video, we're going to install a backup camera and several other features, as well as the microphone that I mentioned earlier, into some of these back ports. Just a quick reminder, once more, use this bottom radio input, not the top one. This bottom one is the one that will work. And we're done. Time to bolt this into the car and see how she works. All right, now that you have just set the unit back in and plugged in all the pieces, we have the 4 bolts you want to attach right here. You'll see the bottom 2 right down there. You will notice I didn't actually, in order to get this fitment correct, I didn't actually screw them in completely. They have just a little bit of play. That was okay with me. If you want to screw them in all the way, you might be able to stick some washers just to tighten it up, but again, it depends on what head unit, what year car you're going to be installing this in. I think overall the fitment is fantastic. It's really not bad. Next, we have our center air vent. This one actually goes to a 2009 model. It's just slightly different than the one we took out of my car. The reason why I want this other one is you'll notice there is a bit of a gap on the 07 model. When you actually put the 07 back in, it really doesn't quite fit properly. So what we're going to want to do is going to want to take out the 07 model, and we're going to replace it with the 09 model air vent. We're going to remove these white clips to allow us to add the 09 model air vent to this build. This is the cable that connects to the new air vent. All we're going to do here is just crimp it to the previous wire that connected to the center air vent. The only purpose for this is to allow the lights on your center air vent to work just like it does in the rest of the car. These white clips just pop right out of the wire, and then what we're going to do is just cut one of them right down the middle and just attach the wires onto this new piece. These cables look very similar, but unfortunately they do not fit into the new air vent. You'll see the wires are still the same white and green, and we're just going to crimp them together. We have crimped it all together, we have plugged it in, we have fit it into the car. It looks absolutely amazing right now. You'll see the fitment around the head unit is almost perfect compared to the old one. This is absolutely wonderful. There is a bit of a gap along the top, you'll see. I have plans for that. In a future video, we are going to be filling that up, as well as taking care of, actually, this car has a sticky dashboard, which is kind of common among some of the Lexuses and Toyotas of this year, as well as some of the chunks missing from the dashboard. These are all going to be going away in a future video, so stay tuned. We are almost finished. All we have to do now is screw in the shift knob and replace the aluminum trim pieces, and we'll be done. All right, I know this was a dark shot, but I wanted to take a video of the car starting up at night, so it just gives you a better idea of what we've done here as it gets darker, and also just to show you how long it takes for it to boot up. So I'm just gonna press the brake here. All right, and there we have it. I think it took about 20 to 30 seconds. As you can see here, it's pretty buttery smooth. Here, let's turn off the lights here. You can get a better idea. So there are a few things that I wanted to point out here. The first one is you can kind of see here are the green. These are the lights that we crimped for this center air vent. So those are working. You'll see they kind of match. I'm not sure if you can kind of see in there. There's one like right here, right in the center there. As you can tell, it only took about 20 to 30 seconds to boot up, and even while it's booting up, before it's fully loaded, you can access your temperature controls and your volume if you needed to shut off the volume, or, you know, everyone knows what it's like to step into a car at 6 a.m. and turn on the car just to have a bunch of cold air blown in your face. You're going to want to use these temperature controls here. So once you can use the ones straight in the physical buttons, or you can use the ones right up here. For the most part, it's super intuitive, super easy to work with. However, it is in Celsius, and I have not figured out how to adjust that yet. Another thing I want you to know is you'll have like this, the video kind of turns out purple in here on my screen, but if you can see, these are like a blue with a red power button, but they don't really match the green we have here on the physical buttons of the head unit. And then down here you'll see, I'm not sure if you can see the color difference in this video at all, but this is more of like a swamp green below the original head unit, as opposed to these top, I'm not sure what you call this, almost like a neon green. It's very much, it's brighter than the other greens that kind of go through the rest of the car. And that's just something to note if you're OCD about it, something to keep in mind. So because of my school schedule and everything happening, unfortunately, it means that it's been about 2 months since I've had this head unit, and I haven't been able to get this video out. But on the bright side, that means that I have some experience with kind of tinkering with some of the parts and some of the pieces. So far, everything has been fantastic. As far as like this working, I also have a Android Auto and Apple CarPlay dongle that I'm using with it. That's going to be out in another video, kind of explaining that. Those have been pretty amazing so far. Just the kind of the points I've mentioned here. And one more, the Play Store doesn't seem to work. I don't know, now that yeah, that's kind of what happened. So it says it's updating. I've tried deleting it and reinstalling it through like APKs. I've done that twice. I still haven't had any luck. You'll see I am connected to Wi-Fi, just the college Wi-Fi we have right here. Yeah, the Wi-Fi works fine. You can use it for whatever you want. Like here's my APKs that I was working with, but everything, you know, for the most part, it runs, you know, super smooth. Settings allow you to get in and kind of work with some of the things I was having were like the sound issue, and I had to adjust the audio channels here. A few of the other problems I was having are kind of in the car settings, so you can kind of go through these yourself. If you do want the extra settings, there's a password. That password is 123456. You can kind of see all the other options you can do. I did select the logo as the Lexus logo. You can have an Android or Audi, or I don't know why you want that, but anywho, that's just kind of the in usage part. You do have Bluetooth with here, and just a music app if you do connect things over the USB ports, or you connect them, or you just put a disc into the system. As promised, here is some of the things that I've done to make this, my build, just unique to me specifically. You've already seen some bits about the whole center air vent and how I've kind of worked with that and the crimping of those wires. But we also have right here, you'll see this, it's a USB plug-in, and that actually attaches, as you probably noticed, to the USB ports that go in here. You just lead directly to that. You can plug in your phone straight from there if you do wish to connect your phone to the head unit. There are multiple reasons for that, but yeah, I say that for a later video. And then finally, this last third piece is I replaced the cigarette lighter with this quick charge and USB-C adapter. This allows me to take my iPhone plug, and I can just essentially plug it right in and then plug my phone in, set it down here, and it'll be good. If someone else has a USB-C side, they can just directly quick charge it here. But yeah, this is not directly associated with the head unit. However, in the process of taking all this stuff out, I was already there. I decided to just remove the cigarette lighter area and just replace the cigarette lighter. I did need to drill using a step drill bit, the holes for this and back here. I'll leave a link in the description if you do want just the step drill bit link to make that yourself. But I'll also link this USB adapter and this cigarette lighter conversion kit as well. Oh, I should mention one more thing. When you turn on the car, it does show your voltage, which is super helpful. The car's not actually started, so it just says 12.6 instead of I think I'm at 13.5 when everything's actually running. So anyways, those are just two of the things that I've done to make this kind of fit the way I want this to fit. In the future videos, we'll be working with cleaning up the dashboard and working a bunch of other really cool stuff, so stay tuned for that. I did mention earlier in the video that the GPS was having issues, and that is still true today. I haven't actually been able to get the GPS to work. I'm not sure what to do about it. For me, it's not a big deal because I plug in my phone and that's all I need. However, if you really want to use the GPS, that's something you might want to take note of. I'm sure maybe it's just the positioning where I put my GPS system. I've heard people put them like underneath this air vent above, and that fixes the problem. But for me, it wasn't a big deal, so I haven't used it. Anyways, that is the full, I guess, installation and just a quick review of my thoughts on the 10.2 inch Android display unit. I really appreciate you watching. If you're still watching, that means that means a ton to me. I can't thank you enough. If you did enjoy this video, if you found it helpful, A like would be really greatly appreciated. I'm just kind of I want to be able to show people some of the things I'm doing to the car, and hopefully give you guys some inspiration to do it on your own car. So yeah, just leave a like, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye now.